This event, it's worked out really well so far, the first round. We're about to start the second round. And I just want to thank everyone. I also want to let everyone know that on Wednesday, October 21st, we're going to have a school committee candidates forum at the McGlynn Elementary Auditorium. And then on Wednesday, October 28th, at the Medford High School Auditorium, we'll have a mayoral debate. And I hope that everyone here and everyone at home will join us. The way that we have the questions and the way we came up with the questions that we're asking tonight was by those who submitted questions to us. So I want to ask everyone here, if there's a question you're like, I wish they would have asked that. Did you send me an email? Because if you didn't send me an email, it wasn't asked. So if anyone has a question for the school committee or for the mayoral debate, please email jay@jcampbellrealty.com. You can also go on my Facebook page at facebook.com/jcampbell.ma, and you'll see the events listed as well. But if you can send them to us, that would be fantastic. We're really, really lucky. We have 14 candidates for the city council. All 14 said yes to appearing here today to let us learn more about them. Because these events really aren't so much for the candidate as they are for the voters, for us, just like me and you. That's why we're doing this. Unfortunately tonight, one of the candidates was unable to make it. His father passed away yesterday. For those who don't realize, that's George Scarpelli's father passed away. And since George couldn't be here, he asked if it would be okay to have Jay come up and just to read a little letter that he wants all of us to know about. And I thought that was very appropriate. And our condolences go out to the George Scarpelli and his family. So Jay, would you mind just coming up and reading the letter for us? And then after that, we'll have John Matheson, President of the Malden City Council, who's been so kind to moderate, take over, and run the show. So Jay, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. And of course, this letter is from George. First, I would like to take the time to thank Jay Campbell and all of you, the residents of Medford, for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts about the city and its future. Unfortunately, due to the recent passing of my father, Aldo, I am unable to attend tonight's event. When he came to this country, my father was thrilled to become a member of this community, and he and my mother instilled in my family the responsibility of giving back to the community. I devoted my life to community, particularly in making communities work for families. As many of you know, I was a school teacher here in Medford for 15 years, and I've been a coach at both the youth and high school levels for the past 25 years. As a current member of your Medford School Committee, I've fought for transparency and better communication with parents and educators. I consider myself very fortunate to have had the opportunity to contribute to this community, and my aim is to continue to do so. If elected, I pledge to work for a brighter future for Medford and a better quality of life for our residents. I want to invest in our neighborhoods, strengthen our business districts, give the next generation the opportunities Medford gave me as a youth, and make sure Medford remains a home to the older generation that has done so much for our city. I respectfully ask for your vote on Tuesday, November 3rd. I will be a city councilor who puts the people of Medford first and who believes a better Medford is within our grasp. Please visit my Facebook page and votescarpelli.com to learn more about my ideas and my 10-point plan. And I thank you for my time and consideration. Sincerely, George Scarpelli, candidate for City Council. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you all and welcome. As Jay had said, I'm John Matheson. I'm the president of the Malden City Council, and it is my distinct honor to be here tonight. For those of you who are just tuning in or just joining us, I do see some new faces. I just wanted to introduce myself and briefly go over the format. And once again, it's a true privilege of mine to be here in this Medford City Hall for the Medford City Council debate with these fine candidates and all of you, and I'm truly appreciative of that. With that being said, I'll go over the format very briefly, and then we'll get started with opening remarks. So we do have 14 candidates running for 7 seats. 13 have joined us tonight, and the debate was divided into 2 rounds. 7 candidates are here for this second round. At the beginning of the round, each candidate will be given 1 minute to provide their opening statements and introduce themselves. Every candidate will then be provided with 3 questions during the course of the debate. Candidates will have 2 minutes to offer their answer. Each question will be presented to 3 candidates, and each candidate will have a question where they're the first to answer, a question where they answer second, and a question where they're the third person to answer. Each candidate will then be provided with 2 minutes for a closing statement. However, in the interest of time management, if any candidate goes over their allotted time during the answer portion of a question, their overage will be deducted from their 2 minutes allotted for closing. Mr. Campbell will be keeping time, and he has cards which will indicate when 1 minute remains, 30 seconds remain, and when time has expired. So before we get started, as I did before the first round, I would just like to point out that running for office is not easy, and elected office affects our lives in many very personal ways, like public safety and education and infrastructure and local taxes. It can be very expensive and time-consuming, as these candidates can tell you, and it can really require a serious sacrifice, not only of the candidate, but of their jobs and families. And for that, I'd like to begin by offering a big round of applause for all these candidates for making this sacrifice. Since I may not get an opportunity to do it at the end, I'd like to again acknowledge Mr. Campbell, who volunteered to put together these forums and debates, and he's done a great job. That requires a lot of planning and hard work, and I know he puts in work. So we will close in the reverse order from which we open, and we will begin the openings as we did last time in this seated position, where Miss Lungo Kern is sitting. And she will not necessarily be receiving the first question, but she will be receiving the first opening. Do you need a minute, or would you like to begin now? Okay, and your turn will begin. I'll point to you when I've activated the microphone. I'm still learning the audio system here, so bear with me. Okay. Ms. Kern, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay, for hosting this event. Thank you for moderating, and thank you for the people for coming and having an interest, and thanks for the people watching at home. My name is Brianna Lungo Kern. I am currently a member of the Medford City Council. I've served in the council for 7 terms, almost the end, coming to the end of my 7th term, seeking re-election for my 8th term. I was born and raised in Medford, went to St. Joseph's School, Medford High School. I graduated from Endicott College in 2002 with a bachelor's in criminal justice and psychology, and then I graduated with my JD from Massachusetts School of Law in 2006. I currently own and operate the law offices of Lungo, Kern, and Collins in Wellington Circle. I am married to my husband, David Kern, who currently opened his own business in Medford as well, Boston Physical Therapy and Wellness. David and I have 3 children, Bailey Kern, who is 7 and attends the Roberts Elementary School, Callaway Kern, who's at St. Joseph's in kindergarten, and my 16-month-old Tara, who is at Graceworks in Medford. My husband and I are devoted to Medford, and I hope to be re-elected to serve the people another term in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kern. Now, I might be a good choice for moderator because not only have I not endorsed anyone, I don't know the candidates. And for that reason, sir, I'm going to ask you to turn your name plate back towards me so I know which microphone to activate. Okay. And with that, Mr. Ruggiero? Ruggiero. Sorry for that. And you may begin with your opening, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for everyone who provided this event. Really quick, my name is Michael Ruggiero. I want to kind of dispense with the pleasantries and tell you quickly what my distilled vision for Medford is, in 3 words. I believe it all boils down to responsive, transparent government. But what does that mean, right? Words are cheap. So let's unpack that, see if I can do it in a minute. First, as you know, 74% of the voters did not turn out to the last election in Medford. So consider that number. That's a huge majority of the people in Medford have given up on our system. But why? So I hope to answer that question in everyone's minds tonight. Before I get into that, though, I want to remind myself from the book of Matthew that says, first take the plank out of your own eye when you address these problems. So when it comes to transparency, here's what I'm offering. If you go to my website, takegovernment.com, what I've done is posted all of the books in Medford, the expense ledgers, the income sheets, all of the digital documents that I have trying to assemble. In February, I'm going to be creating an interactive website, I'm working on it now, where you can actually see how the government works. Ultimately, if I had to say what is the biggest problem that I've encountered walking throughout Medford, the issue I have to hear is people don't understand what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruggiero. And next to open is Mr. Caviello.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Jay, John, for allowing me to be here this evening. My name is Richard Caraviello, and I am married to Carol Caraviello. She's in the audience there, and I have 3 children and 5 grandchildren. I am a product of the Medford school system. I am a homeowner and a business owner in the city of Medford. I've dedicated the last 25 years of my life volunteering on many groups and organizations within the city of Medford. I am currently the president of the Medford Kiwanis. I am past president of the Medford Chamber of Commerce. I've served as executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, and I am currently a director on the board there. And again, I thank everybody for having me here tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Caraviello. And next to open is Ms. Forno.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Leonora Foro, and I'm a first-time candidate for public office. I'm running for City Council because I care about my fellow citizens and want to make our city an even better place for my family and all the other folks who call it home, a better place to live. I'd like to thank Jay Campbell for arranging this forum, which gives outsider candidates such as myself an opportunity to discuss my platform, and it showcases the democratic process at its best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forno. And next to address this is Mr. Falco.
Thank you. I'd like to begin by thanking Jay Campbell and everyone here tonight and everyone watching at home. My name is John Falco, and I'm a candidate for Medford City Council. I'm currently a member of the Medford School Committee, for which I've been a member of for the past 6 years. I've been the vice chair of the Medford School Committee for the past 4. And during my years in the school committee, I'm very proud of the accomplishments my colleagues and I have made. $15 million in new science labs at Medford High School, $3.3 million in new technology throughout the school district, the modernization of Medford Vocational Technical High School to include state-of-the-art programming and low class size. My wife Jackie and I are homeowners, and we live at 123 Fulton Spring Road. We have 3 boys, John, Joey, and Jack, all students in the Medford Public School System. My educational background, I have a degree in business management from the University of Massachusetts and a graduate level certificate in human resource management from Northeastern University. I'm currently employed as an assistant vice president at a financial services firm in Boston, and I have 25 years of accounting and finance to bring to the position. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Falco. Next is Mr. Osborne.
Hello, I am Neil Osborne. I've been working with at least 9 different nonprofit organizations in Medford for more than 10 years. I believe in Medford. I've lived here all my life. I believe we already have many things right, but change is coming, and there's room for improvement. We need a city council filled with new ideas. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work for the city of Medford. We need to revitalize our downtown and make smart choices about our future. We need to invest in a new police station, our library, and our roads and sidewalks. The city of Medford, Medford Public Schools, my church, and my parents gave me the opportunity to reach my highest potential. As your city councilor, I want to do that for you, and especially for your children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Next is Mr. Marks. You begin.
Thank you very much. And for those who don't know me, my name is Michael Marks. I reside at 37 Wellington Road with my wife, Lisa, and 3 children, Gianna, who now is a freshman at Framingham State, and my 2 twins, Evan and Olivia, both juniors at Medford High School, receiving a terrific education. At the end of the closing statement, I would like to get into the initiatives that I plan on pushing forward in the upcoming year if elected. One of them is the 311 system. It's an innovative customer service system that allows residents to directly access city services and get responses back in a timely fashion. The other is the long-awaited for revitalization of all our business districts, and I'd like to discuss that in further detail. I'd also like to say, with every vision, I think it's also good to look back and see what has been accomplished. And at that point, I'd like to go over the list of accomplishments that I personally pushed forward over the last several years as a member of the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. And now we'll begin with the first question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes. Each question will go to 3 candidates. The first question will begin with Ms. Floro. And the question is, how would you improve upon any of the various forms of public or private transportation in the city of Medford? You may begin.
That's a great question. I'd like to see more connectivity between the commercial centers, if it were possible, because funding is always an issue. I'd like to see some shuttle-type transportation between South Medford, Medford Square, Haynes Square. There are a lot of people who don't care to drive. Maybe they don't have a car. We always want to encourage people to use public transportation. And I think that would be great to link those commercial centers. I think it would be part of the process of strengthening them. And it would be a great thing for tourism. Oh, sorry, did I miss the time?
No, you have still 1:30 seconds. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, and I think it would fit in very well with the whole idea of streamlining the process of getting things done in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Foro. The next person to answer will be Mr. Marks. Would you like me to repeat the question, Mr. Marks?
No, I think I said public and private transportation.
Yes.
Thank you. That is a great question, and I think we're all aware that the Green Line extension will provide additional public transportation within our community. The great debate was how far should the Green Line go into the community, and in my opinion, if we're going to open this up for truly the most rider and participation, it would be the furthest that you can go. And I, as one member, would like to see more of an active involvement rather than have the city of Somerville take the lead in the Green Line extension, that Medford take a front seat in this very important initiative for our community. Regarding private transportation, we do have a number of shuttles. I know Joseph's was providing transportation to the Meadow Glen Mall for our seniors and to some of the supermarkets, which is very important for those people that are unable and don't have their own transportation to get around. And also CMS, which is the senior transportation that's provided, does a lot of trips via to the doctor's office, via to the supermarket, or even just to allow seniors to mingle with each other throughout the community. And that initiative that's provided, that transportation, we provide community block grant money every year to keep our seniors in touch with other seniors, which is very healthy.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. And once again, the question is, how would you improve upon any of the various forms of public or private transportation in the city of Medford? And the last person to respond will be Mr. Ruggiero.
A city is sort of like a body. Our roads are sort of like the arteries that make things happen. Getting a little feedback, sorry. So walking through the streets, I've had the opportunity to see many broken roads. From cracked sidewalks, potholes, huge problems in infrastructure. And just today, for example, on 4th Street, every time it rains, there's a huge puddle. And they were telling me about it today. Or walking through Arlington Street and how people blow through the stop sign right in front of the West Medford Community Center. The city needs to actually think about these things in more in-depth detail. Now, currently, we have a committee, the traffic committee, and they do good work. But unfortunately, they don't necessarily have the academic or scientific, should I say, background to actually analyze how traffic flows. For this reason, I have presented a plan, a pretty comprehensive plan. You can see it on my website at takegovernment.com. The beginning of my plan involves for the city to hire what's called a transportation engineer. Currently, this role is unfilled in our city, while many other major cities have it. What a transportation engineer does is they actually study the quality of the roads, they actually study potholes, they actually study how pedestrian flow works through our stores. When we have this person on our staff, we can actually start doing reports that analyze how traffic works in Medford. And I think anyone who's driven through Medford knows it's not working well right now. So the first thing we have to recognize is that we have a problem. Beyond this, we need to start talking about what else would a transportation engineer do. Open up our bike lanes, get some more bike lanes through Medford. Start helping tough students get into Medford through using their shuttle system. How are we actually going to have the Green Line station? Shouldn't we be starting to plan for what it looks like now? Great communities have great stations, right? So I think I have a pretty comprehensive plan. If you want to see sort of a hall of shame, check out my website, a lot of broken streets. Thank you.
The next question is, Medford has several business districts. What would you do to improve any one or more of them? And the question goes to Mr. Osborne.
Thank you for that question. That addresses one of my major concerns why I'm running for City Council. I currently have a seat on the Community Development Board where I can see firsthand that a community development office is understaffed. If we can get enough staffing in that office, we now can become proactive. Certainly, we know Medford Square needs to be revitalized. What if we had a dedicated person that worked with small businesses, showed them the ins and outs of City Hall? I was recently speaking to a potential new business owner in the square, and she was so frustrated in the amount of time that she had to come back to City Hall to meet with one department and then another department. If we, as city leaders on City Council, work together, we can work with our new mayor to ensure that the Community Development Office is actually working to promote small businesses, promote Medford Square, and promote our satellite squares. I think there's great opportunity that the city has if we can encourage those individuals to do business with us. But it's not just simply bringing them in. The community has some work to do also. We have to remember that this is the Medford where we live. As a leader, I would also strongly encourage residents, go out and support those local businesses. It's a partnership, and if we all work together, we can see Medford get better and better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. The question now goes to Mr. Falco. Would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Our business districts consist of many small businesses that are the economic engine of our local community. They create jobs, stimulate growth, and create an identity of Medford's community. As your city council, there are a number of things that I will advocate for to improve the economy and economic development. Right now we have approximately 1.5 people that work in the Office of Community Development. We need to increase that. If you look at surrounding communities, they have 10, 15 people working in that office. We need to hire more people to work, to bring in new businesses, and to help businesses that currently exist within our community. We need improvements in our business districts by making them safer, more pedestrian-friendly, more bicycle-friendly, so people can get around conveniently. We need to beautify our squares and our business areas, including cleaner streets. In public art, I want to see public art throughout our community, but in particular in our business districts. I work in downtown Boston. I walk down the Greenway every day. The amount of people that are walking the Greenway just to see the public art is amazing. We need to do that in our community. We need to have public art throughout our community, throughout our business community. People will come to see it. People will spend time in our squares. People will go to restaurants and dine and go to some shops as well. One of the biggest things I think we need to take advantage of, in our downtown business district, we have Chevalier Theater, a 2,000-seat theater right now that is completely underutilized. We need to embrace that, make that part of our downtown development. And the Mystic River, we need to make that part of our downtown development as well. We have a river that runs right through our community. We need to have bicycle paths that run from the square down to Riverbend Park. People should be able to commute and walk to the square, bike to the square. So those are a number of things that I'll be advocating for, but most importantly, zoning needs to be updated, needs to be changed, and needs to be reviewed. We shouldn't have pawn shops and massage parlors in our business districts. We need to look at them for all of our ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Falco. The question again is, Medford has several business districts. What would you do to improve any one or more of them? And the next answer is Mr. Caraviello.
As a business owner and member of the Chamber of Commerce, I understand a lot of the problems that we have here with our businesses. I think if we start right here in Medford Square, I think the first thing we need to do is admit that we made a mistake on Ring Road and close that road that takes business away from the stores. I mean, that road is right for development where you can bring in more businesses along that road and take the traffic back through the square the way it used to. Right now, all we're doing is just diverting the traffic away from the businesses. Number two, we need to get Tufts University involved in our community to bring students over to here. All their students all go to Davis Square. And they say there's no shuttle to bring them over here. And I also think that part of the problem with the businesses are the businesses themselves. They need to take an active role in the city to start cleaning up their own properties and doing some beautification to their properties. And I think also we need to have a DPW person assigned to every square to keep it clean. And that's and I say we need more lighting. I've been to other squares in other cities, and they say they have bright lighting at night. We go to our square, it's dark and dingy. And I also started the Buy a Tree, Get a Tree program for the businesses. And this year, there's going to be 24 trees planted in our business areas. So I think, and we also need to open an office of redevelopment to have incentives for businesses to come here and to keep the ones we have here growing.
Thank you, Mr. Caraviello. The next question goes to Mr. Marks, and it is, what do you think are the most important issues facing Medford, and how would you address them?
Thank you very much. In my opening statement, I mentioned at least two of the issues that I believe is most important, and one is definitely the interaction residents have with City Hall. Far too often, I get calls from residents that say they can't get through a particular office, or they never get any feedback, or they're on the waiting list for a sidewalk or a tree trimmed. And in my opinion, like other communities have done, Somerville and Arlington and Boston, they have a system where you call in through a smartphone or electronic device and be able to access a request immediately and get a response back. And also it serves as a tracking mechanism. So when the city sets its budget in the next fiscal year, they can look at it and say, we had 300 requests for trees, we had 1,000 requests for sidewalks, and plan their budget accordingly. So it's twofold. It helps residents interact with the city, but it also helps the city budget appropriately for upcoming years. The second issue is the revitalization of Medford Square. We are in a unique situation right now. We have 3 city-owned parcels of land directly here on the east side of the square that are underutilized. Some of them are used for surface parking lots. And all we need to do is encourage some new development into the community and also the existing businesses. I've heard from the owner of Mystic Roasters on Riverside Ave, and she tells me quite frequently other communities come in to solicit her to move to those communities. Our office right now is not engaging, the Office of Community Development. It's not engaging our local businesses and definitely not reaching out to other communities saying, would you like to come into our square? This is what we can offer. We can offer tax incentives. We can offer foot traffic. We want to welcome into the community. And those are the 2 issues that I'd like to see worked upon.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. The next to respond is Mr. Osborne.
One of the simplest areas that we can do as leaders is make sure citizens have their concerns heard in a timely fashion. Councilor Marks talked about the non-emergency 311 system, and I completely support that concept. What better way can we as leaders serve the community than ensuring that City Hall will hear them when they have a concern, track the problems that citizens have issues about, and then make departments accountable for answering or the lack thereof. Constituency services, I think, are sorely lacking. That is one area that Medford must do better if they want to continue to attract people to our community. One thing you've heard many of the candidates and councilors talk about, I think needs to be improved, is charter review. It's 28 years old. We created that system almost 3 decades ago, and I think we are hampered by not even having it reviewed. So I would absolutely, as a city councilor, champion that the city work with a review. And just because you have a review doesn't mean everything changes, but certainly it's in a community's best interest that they have a regular review of the form of government that we have. Because right now we have a strong mayor with a weak city council, nor do we have ward representation. And those are issues I think would be important to be addressed for the new council when they come along. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. What are the most important issues facing Medford, and how would you address them? The question goes to Mr. Falco next.
Thank you. I believe there are a number of issues that are a priority right now. Economic development, like I mentioned in my previous question, we need to hire more people in our Office of Community Development to work with the businesses. We also have to look at the ordinances from top to bottom to make sure that we're bringing in desirable businesses. And of course, increase funding for the Chevalier Theater. But also with regard to financial and city planning, I want to see a city master plan. We need to actually see where Medford's going to go over the next 5, 10, 15 years, and the community should be part of that. So I'd like to see a city plan. I'd like to work with the incoming administration to put together a city plan that we can all be part of and have a say in where our city's going to be going over the next 5, 10, or 15 years. With regard to financial planning, the city council, I believe, needs to be more involved in the budget process. One of the big things I brought to the school committee was when I was elected, the school committee had absolutely no, they really weren't included in the budget process until the final budget hearings at the end of the school year. What I did is I made a motion that we have actual financial reports come to this, the school committee on a monthly basis, and basically a presentation from the budget director letting us know what was going on, budget to actual, so we could see what we were actually spending our money on. So the city council needs to be more included in that process. Making government more accessible to the people. Right now, government is tough to access. I completely support a 311 system. It's long overdue, it's needed, and we need to do that. So I'll advocate for that. I will hold regular office hours throughout the city. I'll hold online office hours as well. I want to be able to talk with you on a regular basis. Constituent services is a huge part of this job, and I want to do that. I want to be talking to people on a regular basis to find out what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Falco. The next question is, if you could pass or change one city ordinance tomorrow, what would it be and why? This question begins with Mr. Caraviello. If you could pass or change one city ordinance tomorrow, what would it be and why?
One city, well, probably one of the biggest ordinances that we have is, I would think that our zoning ordinances are very old and need to be reviewed, starting from all of them, really, all of these, the signed ordinances, the zoning ordinances, they're all just antiquated. They haven't, even the, I know over the years we've changed some of the liquor laws and real estate things, but that would be my biggest thing, would be changing the zoning ordinances in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Caraviello. The next to respond is Ms. Lungo Kern.
Thank you. That's a tough question. Within the last 14 years since I've been on the council, we've made changes, positive changes to signage, zoning, outdoor seating, liquor laws. I think I could go on and on, but one that pops in my head was, and there's many like this, many outdated ordinances that are in our books, and the one that pops in my head just off the cuff would be the Medford tree ordinance. Our ordinance is probably 3 sentences. Back maybe 4 years ago now, I used, I think 4 other communities, researched the ordinances that were out there, and drafted my own ordinance. We had meetings on it. We asked the city solicitor to review it, and I don't think it had the support it needed. As you all know, you need a certain percentage of the council to approve the changes, and we didn't have the support at that time. That's one of the many outdated ordinances that I would definitely change. The ordinance that was created, that was drafted for review, was probably 4 or 5 pages long. One positive thing is that we did hire at the time a new tree warden, and she's done an impeccable job. She's definitely accountable, one that is very accountable, and she does her job. But at the same time, I still feel that we need a much more detailed ordinance to govern, how we take down trees, when we cut trees, how we put them up, how many we put up. And I think that would be a positive change, and it would definitely create even more accountability than we have now. So I know it's just one of probably the many that need to be looked at, but hopefully we will continue to make changes like we have over the last few years.
Thank you, Ms. Lungo Kern. Then the question again is, if you could pass or change one city ordinance tomorrow, what would it be and why? And it goes to Mr. Marks next. Maybe again.
Thank you very much, and that's a great question. I think the most important one that I'd want to take a look at would be the regulation of illegal apartments.
To the kind of expensive and more difficult. Let's talk about the cheap and easy first. Right now I'm kind of in consultation with people at Tufts University. I'm hoping that we can get a shuttle into Tufts University. It costs us nothing. We don't need a fancy office. What we do next is we put some coupons in the Tufts papers. This will allow students to have access to free burritos from our delicious Mexican restaurant, Tanoki, or maybe some delicious sushi at our amazing Japanese market. That's the start. See, ultimately, I think one of the things that I bring so I was a teacher of calculus, I studied protein folding, who cares? I think ultimately the idea is how can we sort of fix the chicken and the egg problem that we have in Medford. Often, I come to every city council meeting, and if you kind of watch these things at home and keep score, here's how an idea goes. Great idea gets presented, let's send it to committee. And then it dies, right? So I think to address this chicken and the egg problem, we need to start staring it straight in the face. Involving people in the community, let's get them in the Magoon room, and let's start talking and getting it involved. I hope to talk more about the Medford development plan, but I'm out of time. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ruggiero. The question again is, what experience do you have that would be a unique contribution to the City Council? And the question goes to Ms. Iforo.
I think I bring a different perspective. We have many fine people running and on City Council. By and large, they're business and financial professionals, which is pretty much what people think of in a standard way when you're talking about City Council candidates. I bring a perspective as a parent in a stay-at-home situation with my children for most of their years. I think more in terms of the day-to-day concerns. Without stereotyping, I think perhaps women are a little more aware of some of these day-to-day issues, coordinating and balancing the different demands on your time. It's kind of an inchoate thing to describe, but the focus is different. You get to run things when you're in a business or professional capacity as a supervisor, and you get your say. My perspective is one more of having to coordinate and adapt to the many demands of parenthood and still fulfill my own ambitions. So I'm hoping to be a role model for other women who are thinking about expanding further as their children age out of that period where they require such a particular and high amount of care. And I guess that's about all I have to say about it, because I feel that, well, I'm the only one of the 11 challengers, and as we all know, Brianna Lungo-Cohn has been setting the standard for 15 years, and she's my role model, and I'm hoping to build on that.
Thank you, Ms. Savoro. Mr. Osborne, what experience do you have that would be a unique contribution to the City Council? You may begin.
Listening. As an attorney, in order for me to do my job well, it starts the moment a client walks into my office. I have to understand their problem before I can become their advocate. For the past 10 years, I've worked on many different nonprofits in this city. It has placed me in a unique situation where I get to hear a cross-section of interests, education levels, and styles. I've prided myself on hearing what they need more than me telling people what they want to hear. As a leader on City Council, I think that's a critical skill, that you hear more than you talk. So I can sort of bring that perspective, that this chamber becomes the comfortable place for each and every resident to come to discuss and debate issues that are important to them. It will be my job to make this the people's place to discuss our future, and I can bring that unique perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. The next question is, if Medford were to pass a capital improvement plan, how would you prioritize the funds to improve the community? Mr. Falco will be the first to answer this. You may begin.
Could you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
If Medford were to pass a capital improvement plan, how would you prioritize the funds to improve the community?
Thank you very much. Good question. There are a number of, I feel like as a community right now, we actually have a pretty solid foundation. You know, we have newer schools, but there are some things that are lacking that need to be worked on. I mean, I think the top priority would be a new police station, fire station down here in the square. It's long overdue. Unfortunately, it's falling apart. So that would be a top priority. I think City Hall in general, if you look at City Hall on the outside of the building, City Hall needs work both inside and out. So I would say that would be part of the capital improvement plan as well. And I think there are, while we've done some work to Medford High School, I think there are there's some work that needs to be done there as well. So that would probably be, and that would be in my, I guess, top three or four list. But, you know, I think, you know, when we look at these things too, we should also look to, you know, see what we can do to make improvements with the structures with regard to energy improvements, like solar energy and those types of things. So that would be the short list, I guess, of the things that I would want to improve.
Thank you, Mr. Falco. The next to respond will be Mr. Ruggiero. If Medford were to pass a capital improvement plan, how would you prioritize the funds to improve the community? You may begin.
Okay, another sort of illusion, or maybe half illusion. Yeah, money does a lot of good stuff. But once again, it's ideas that drive the money forward. Right now, we have $155 million in the city. Where do capital improvements come from? They come from us, right? They come from our wallets. So the first thing I think we need to address is, where does this money come from? And often, I think one of the largest problems we have here in Medford is sort of the whole budgetary process. It's sort of like a jack-in-the-box that just pops out at the end of the year, and everyone who can kind of get there in time gets it. If you actually want to receive the budget from a very talented budget director that we have now, if you actually want to get the budget from her, she can't give it to you. It's sort of cobbled together from various different reports. You can print it, it'll take some time, but it's not available digitally. So it's not able to be scanned, viewed easily, and it's lots of pages. And, you know, I don't know, Control F is a pretty useful way to look through a document. So that would be the first thing about capital improvements I want to address. Beyond that, I want to talk about what I think is even more important than more money in Medford. I think I want to talk a little bit about the charter. I have a minute here, so I'm just going to cram this in real quick. The charter is the blueprint of the city government. It doesn't matter how much money you have, but if you don't have a good blueprint, then you can't build anything worth building. So as it's been mentioned before by Neil, and I know he's pushing for this too, the charter has been reviewed in almost 30 years. So issues like term limits, how the city presents its budgets, ward representation, all this ultimately comes from the charter. And you know what, a lot of people talk about charter review. My team has collected about 800 signatures. We need 6,000. We got a long way to go, but we're getting there one step at a time, like a journey of 1,000 miles. Ultimately, if this city is going to work, I think we should watch out for the big bucket of cash that comes from you and throwing it out. It's like there's a fire in the house and we're throwing money, and we got to avoid that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruggiero. The question next goes to Ms. Longo-Kern, and the question again is, if Medford were to pass a capital improvement plan, how would you prioritize the funds to improve the community?
Thank you, John. I think before I go into where I think the spending needs to go, I think the first thing that needs to happen, and whether I'm elected or not, is that there needs to be a change with how the mayor's office associates with the city council. I think that's the number one thing that has to happen. I hope that the two offices, the legislative body and the executive body, come January, can work together to develop, discuss a master plan, a capital improvement plan for the city of Medford. It's something that, obviously button heads for the last many, many years. It always seems that the mayor's office has the votes they need and the input isn't really taken when, 7 city councilors do have good input. With that being said, I think that maintenance of our buildings, police station needs to be updated. You have issues in arbitration with regards to the police station. There has not been a female locker room update for years, and they were promised that 5 years ago. The females officers have to go to the local gym to work out, and I really don't think that's fair, and I think that's something that needs to be worked on immediately. Also, the evidence room. They store evidence in a garage. I'm talking rape kits and drug evidence. It's in the garage, and we saw it, we toured it. It's something that we pushed 4 years ago when we were pushing the DPW refurbishment that finally came to fruition. The police station needs to be updated. The Band-Aids they put on the police station were not enough. We also need to invest in our library in Chevalier, the square. We have to create some spot, whether it's discussion has been had about putting a second floor in the library and incorporating the arts. I think those three are what stick out the most, and the police station for our public employees needs to be number one.
Thank you, Ms. Longo-Kern. According to the format presented to me, you're also the first speaker on the next question. And the question is, more apartments are being built every year. Do you support the construction of more apartments, and to what extent do you support more affordable housing units in the city of Medford? May begin.
More apartments. I think the problem with more apartments and, is the traffic issue. We have a major traffic issue within the city of Medford, but even with that being said, people have a right to develop, and we have some great developments that are going on. Station Landing, River's Edge, all creating apartments. You have across from the Meadow Glen Mall that's created the Luminaire apartments. They're beautiful. So I guess the question, I don't think you can stop the increase of apartments, but I do believe that we can figure out through the OCD department and the affordable housing specialists that we have, I think we can create a way to better our affordable housing. We do not have enough. I know there's a number of people in the real estate market, but for a simple 2-bedroom apartment in Medford, you're talking over $2,000. I know that the Luminaires are about $2,000 to $3,000 a piece per month. It's not, people can own 2 homes before they can pay for an apartment. So yes, we do need to do some work on the affordable housing within this city, and hopefully that's something that will be done with the next term.
Thank you, Ms. Longo-Kern. The question again is now going to Mr. Caraviello. More apartments are being built every year. Do you support the construction of more apartments, and to what extent do you support more affordable housing units in the city of Medford?
Well, unfortunately, the city of Medford is a victim of its own success. And that's, apartments keep getting built because of our proximity to Boston. And I don't think as a city we can stop people from building apartments. As the Green Line gets closer to Medford, affordable housing is going to get even worse than what it is now, because as you see in Somerville and Cambridge, along the Green Line, prices at rents will keep on skyrocketing. So that $1,500 apartment that people are paying for now, by the time the Green Line gets here, will be doubling to $3,000 apartments. My only suggestion is that as new apartments are getting built, we can increase the number that we force them to put affordable housing in, like we do now. There are some properties in the city that are ripe for affordable housing, and I know there's some people that are considering them now. But again, like I say, we are a victim of our own success with our proximity to Boston, and that is driving the apartment market through the roof.
Thank you, Mr. Caraviello. The question now goes to our last but not least speaker, Ms. Forno, and it is more apartments being built every year. Do you support the construction of more apartments, and to what extent do you support more affordable housing units in the city of Medford?
I agree with the previous speakers. Apartments are being built, they're going to be built. There's not enough affordable housing, and that's going to continue to be a difficulty. Building the apartments is good. It can expand our tax base, increase the revenue. It's not an unalloyed good because of the strain it puts on city services, roads, traffic, congestion. It's a hard question to answer because it depends on the demographic of the people occupying these. Are they people who just come home at night and go into the city where they work and recreate, or are these people who are going to be eating, shopping, taking advantage of all the things our in-town businesses can offer? So yeah, I do support it, which is fine because I don't think we can stop it. In terms of the affordable housing, I think we really need to look at the specific developments and the proposals of the developers, and where we can encourage or push to the greatest extent possible apartment units that approach a more reasonable degree of affordability.
Thank you, Ms. Afloro. This concludes the question portion of round 2. We are going to take a 1-minute recess so that the candidates can review their notes and prepare themselves for their closing remarks. Closings will be in the reverse order as the openings. Thank you.